Hey, what's up everybody? You'll see here I have a Beretta A400 Extreme Plus model. There's other models like the Sporting model. Why do I have it? Well, something interesting happened the other day. I was looking at comments on YouTube and I started seeing comments about I'm here because of Walls. I found this video after watching Walls try to shoot this gun. I had no idea what they were talking about. To be honest, I spend almost no time scrolling social media. There's days that go by that I don't even look at social media. You know, I try to stay up to date on happenings around the world and politics. I'm informed to some extent. I just try not to be overwhelmed and consumed by that information. But seeing these comments, I was really curious what's going on. And then my wife and videographer both told me, "Did you see Walls trying to unload his shotgun?" And I said, "No, I didn't see that." So I went and checked it out.
Yeah, that's my theory.
And it never fits quite right.
Never fits quite right. Just not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This is a Beretta A400. I bought it when I was shooting a lot of trap because it has a kind of their patented thing, a kickoff.
And Walls was fumbling with his A400 Sporting model, which we've reviewed by the way, and just really seemingly struggling to, it appeared, unload it. And just a ton of criticism for Walls on this.
Well, Vice Presidential nominee Tim Walz doesn't exactly exude alpha male energy, and his weekend hunting trip hasn't helped.
No, Walls looked more like Elmer Fudd than a real shooter.
I'm just wondering, is it justified? Is this criticism and the way people are attacking him justified? We'll get to that in a second, but first, the Beretta A400 Extreme Plus. What was he struggling with on this shotgun that he knew the name of it? He knew it had a kickoff recoil system, and he said he bought it when he was shooting a lot of trap. It's a little concerning for me because if he was shooting a lot of trap and he's used it, he should know how to operate it. So on the A400, it loads like pretty much any other semi-auto, right? You can throw it in the chamber, then you might load the magazine tube through the bottom. Pretty simple. But then when it comes to unloading this, kicks out the shell, but it didn't put another one back in, right? There's no shell, so he's, why can't I get my shell out? Well, on the A400 models, there's a tab right here on the back side of the loading port that you need to press down, and it's gonna release a shell from the magazine tube into the receiver, and then into the bolts, and then it kicks another one out. But we still got one shell left. Push it, eject it, now it should lock back. The gun is empty, and we're done hunting pheasants for the day. Reports are that he did not fire at any pheasants, did not down any pheasants, which is totally cool. I have no problem with that. Guess what? I have days where I go out and don't shoot at any pheasants as well. But some of the criticisms were around he's pandering, he's trying to impress voters and win voters over, and this is just a lame attempt to do that. He's a FUD, is what some people say. Others say, you know, he doesn't know anything about guns, he wants to take guns away, and he's just posing. All these things. Is that fair? Well, I have two issues that I want to talk about today. One is over-sensationalizing anything that happens in our world, and we look at our media, and this especially happens online and on the mainstream media. Everything has to be overly sensationalized. We make a bigger deal out of so many things that aren't big deals. Now, don't get me wrong. In politics, I think there's some major issues going on that we should be concerned about. But this Tim Walz thing really wasn't one of them. So the Minnesota governor's pheasant hunt has been going on for quite a while. I believe Governor Dayton started it. I've actually been part of one of them. Aaron and I, my brother Gould Brothers, back in the day, performed a live exhibition at one of these. I sat next to Governor Dayton at a dinner. Yeah, I mean, sometimes these guys aren't big-time hunters. You can tell Tim Walz is not a big-time hunter. Yes, he had new clothing on. It was probably given to him for the moment. I have no issues with that. He's stepping into a tradition that's been created in Minnesota to celebrate and honor Minnesota's pheasant hunting heritage, which I think is pretty cool. But yes, Walz is not overly experienced, you can tell. And I think that's part of the problem that people have, is Walz is rarely genuine. he poses just like his running mate does often. And I'm trying not to get political. I don't get political on this channel very often, but since this pertains to guns, I'm weighing in. And I got a few other comments on this while we're here. Walz and Harris rarely seem genuine. They have sort of this imposter syndrome where they try to tailor themselves to every audience they're around. And this, to a lot of people, if you actually watch this stuff, is pretty easy to pick out. Nobody has a problem, at least I don't have a problem with somebody saying, hey, I'm not a hunter, or I don't really own and shoot a lot of guns. That's what Trump does. Trump says, you know, I'm not big into guns. I don't have a lot of guns. My sons do. They tell me all about it. They love it. But I know Trump is going to be better for the cause of the Second Amendment. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. Nor was he the 4 years he was president. But I know he's going to be much better on the freedom issue, if you believe in the Constitution still, of the Second Amendment. Now, Walz will say stuff, and Harris will say stuff like, we're gun owners. Look at us. We're gun owners. We're not going to take your guns. And then on the next breath, they will say, but we do believe in common sense gun legislation. We do believe in common sense, like no one having a weapon of war. Yeah, no one should have those because the only people that have them are crazy. And by the way, if it's a weapon of war, we're talking about ARs, Armalite rifles, commonly miscalled assault rifles. If they're weapons of war, Walz and Harris, how come your security detail has them? Are you actively in a war? How come the IRS has them? How come our law enforcement has them? Are they actively in war? They're not weapons of war. They are tools that can be used for many purposes. Great for hunting. We use them. My son uses them. Great for target shooting and great for personal defense. If they're great to protect people of great importance in our public square, would they also not be great for us as civilians to own in our own personal defense? Because really the Second Amendment is not at all about hunting or sport shooting. It's not. And if you believe it is, read the Constitution. If you want to get rid of the Constitution, you can make that point. But we have to interpret the Constitution as it was written and for the intended purposes. And speaking of which, when they wrote the Constitution, that Second Amendment, some people will claim, well, we can't have missiles and that's not for weapons of war. What did the common soldier have in that day when the Second Amendment was written? They had muskets. What did the civilians have? They had muskets. The Second Amendment was also largely about tyranny and giving power to the people to not be captive to a tyrannical government. But Steve, they're just going to take F-16s and you're going to take your AR versus an F-16? No. Nope, you're right. If the government is now carpet bombing its citizenry, we are beyond a point. But having an armed citizenry that's responsible and trained keeps us from getting to that point. So I got on a little tangent there. I'm just winging it here today. So I do think we got an issue with over-sensationalizing media stories. We got an issue with making everything into a political issue, and sometimes they are. But I think the biggest issue here is people can see through Governor Walz, especially, I hope especially, the people of Minnesota. I'm a Minnesota resident and really dislike what Walz has done with this state. I could go on and on about how he handled COVID, how he pandered to the BLM riots. He let the precinct burn, the gun legislation that he's signed into law, all the things he's done in this state that I don't think serve Minnesotans well. And we're all free to disagree. And I think we ought to be able to disagree and have discussions about it without it getting into personal attacks, without us just tearing people down online, because that's another one of the issues. If you wouldn't say it to somebody's face, don't say it online or in the comments. Now you might ask, well, Steve, would you say these things to Walz's face? I would like to think I would. If Walz was here, I'd say, hey, I totally disagree on the things you've done, the way you've approached government and politics, and the way you're stripping freedoms from the American people, and I do not want to see you at the second highest office as Vice President of the United States. So that's my rant today, guys. You learned hopefully a little bit about the Beretta A400 Extreme Plus. Not a lot. You didn't learn a lot about it. But I wanted to make a quick response video. I really don't get political on this channel. Y'all probably know, if you watch regularly, kind of where I stand. I'm a rural American God-fearing, Bible-believing, family man with kids who loves to shoot shotguns and be outdoors and be part of God's creation. Until next time, guys, remember, whether you're in the field or in life, you're only going to hit those shots you're laser focused on. So live target focused. See ya.